Hello, listeners. Welcome to Plano's Political Pitbull Podcast. This is Esther.
And this is Ruth.
And today we have an update on zoning case 2024-003 for Plano. That is the J.C. Penney's property, headquarters on Legacy and Headquarters Drive. If you have not listened to episode 16 yet, you need to go do that before you continue with this episode, or you will have no clue what we are talking about. But just to refresh some people's memories who did listen, so this is the case where the developer wants to add two 21-story plus apartment buildings for office towers, hotel, restaurant, maybe some retail. And this case came before the zoning board a few weeks ago, and the developer didn't have his homework done. He didn't have the traffic study. He didn't have the environmental study. So they tabled it. And on Monday, the 21st of October, the developer came back and he had his homework this time. He came prepared. He had the traffic study and he had the environmental study.
Yay.
Now, according to his environmental study, they said, nothing needed here. And according to the traffic study, well, shockingly, yes, this development was going to cause more traffic.
No.
Yes.
You don't say.
I do say. How do you like them apples?
Putting more people in an area causes traffic? I had no idea.
Yes. Aren't we so surprised? Like we really needed to tell them that. The environmental study did say that there would be more noise, but that it would be mitigated with the type of windows and construction they were going to do.
Okay.
Now, here's an interesting little tidbit from the traffic study. According to the developer's traffic study, 11% of the traffic will come from multifamily. The rest will come from the office. Now, I want to know how they do traffic studies, because do they think that the people are not going to ever leave the property? I mean, I don't care how good your mixed development is. At some point, the person will have to leave the grounds of the property. Unless, I don't know.
Unless you literally have every single thing they could possibly need. Like, you have a doctor's office there, dentist,
every kind
salon.
Of doctor.
I wasn't going to go that deep.
Well, that's my point.
Grocery store, and also most grocery stores don't have everything you need. Sometimes you have to go to like 2 or 3.
Tell me, Ronna. I go to 2 every week.
I think most people do.
You cannot have everything you need. Even if you work and live on the property, all right? Say you work for J.C. Penney's and you go move into one of these fancy buildings that they're going to build. At some point, you will have to leave the property. So I don't understand how they do this. It boggled my mind. Also, I don't understand why we take the study of the developers. Like, it's not the city that's doing the traffic study. No. They hire a person, the developers hire people to do the traffic studies.
Why? Why is that necessary?
Well, that's the requirement. Because the town...
Why?
Well, a smart town want to see how much traffic this is going to cause, how much environmental hazard this is going to cause. But if it's you're hiring a person to do this, don't you think they would, I don't know, get the results that the developer would want? This is just me being cynical in my old age. I mean, I'm sure there's honest people out there who do these things, but I wouldn't necessarily trust all of them.
I mean, it didn't exactly come back with surprising results.
No, it did not. I'm just saying, in general, why wouldn't the city say, we'll do the study? Wouldn't the city
And you
be
trust
more neutral?
and you trust the city that much.
No, not really. I'm just trying to think of who would be the most honest person out there who had nothing to gain. That's the people who should do these studies.
No one.
The
Humans, I think I've lost faith in humanity. Because I can't think of a single human being that you couldn't like game the system.
Okay, I guess not. Well, nevertheless, we shall continue. So, we had people come down and speak against the project. 2 in person, 1 via Zoom. The 2 who were in person who spoke against the project, the residents, they were actually on the comprehensive plan committee that met for over a year, and they were the ones who agreed that this area needs to be a very large employment center and not for residential. And of course, the staff still didn't like the plan. The developer made a couple of tweaks, but nothing major. Staff still didn't like it. It still didn't obviously conform to the comp plan. The funny part, a little funny part. So, one of the slides that the developer had in their presentation on these apartments that they were going to build, they say they're going to build these luxury, beautiful apartments that they're going to rent out. And they're going to rent them out to empty nesters or young professionals.
Okay.
That's their demographic, apparently. Fine. So
That's who they want. Doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Well, they've done these kind of things in other areas. And that's who they usually get.
Fine.
Young professionals who don't have children yet, or the empty nester. Shockingly, not surprisingly, people with children want a house. With a yard or a pool for the kids.
Okay. The only thing with the empty nester, though, is that one of the problems Plano is having is that empty nesters are not moving out of their houses. We have a ton of apartments. Why aren't they moving into those apartments right now?
Good question. I've got a funny story on that too. But I wish somebody on the board had asked that question. So those are his demographics, apparently. One of the things he cited as to why people want apartment living is because they don't have to take care of a house. And that is true. No maintenance. If your toilet goes, you don't have to be the one that calls the plumber. You've got to call the office and hopefully they'll send somebody up.
Yeah, that can have its own set of issues though, because then you have to rely on a middleman.
True. I mean,
and then you're waiting like 2 months for...
Well, that all depends on the apartment. I mean, if it's a good apartment, they'll be there right away. If it's a bad apartment with bad managers, then you've got a problem. Anyway, slide with the list of things, the benefits of apartment living. One of the things that the developer listed was no real estate taxes. Now, I had to laugh because I'm like,
That's in the rent.
exactly. Hello.
Like,
Are you not going to charge your people for the property taxes you're going to pay?
this is standard for any business.
Exactly.
Whatever taxes they have to pay goes to the consumer in the price of the goods or service.
Or in this case, the price of the rent.
Housing.
So one of these speakers pointed this out to them and said, oh, well, excuse me, I have a correction to make on your slide. Unless you plan on eating the very high property taxes that you're going to have to pay for this building, you will be passing that along to your renters in their rent. So I have a feeling that slide will be edited when it goes to City Council. Because I can tell you right now, Shelby will be pointing that out. Like, oh, you're not going to charge your renters property taxes in their rent? How nice of you. I'm going to now look at my notes from the actual zoning board meeting. They discovered that they are going to need additional 2 turning lanes. They said they won't need any air infiltration. They redid some of the setbacks and stuff, and they wanted the residential to have a minimum of 15 stories. Okay, I'm not quite sure why you would want to keep going up. Also, the open space has gotten smaller, not more. So there's going to be less greenery. So
Great.
Yeah. So the board, the commissioners, I will say this was not an easy vote for them. They did take time and consideration on this. They spent like a half hour going back and forth. Some of the questions were, what you would think. I mean, Ratliff, he asked about permits and he asked about phasing. He was concerned about when the residential was going to come and then when the office was going to come. Because what we've seen in the past is the developers will build the residential and then they'll just not build anything else they said they were going to build.
It's like a scam.
Mm-hmm. Right. So he was concerned about that. And Commissioner Tong was concerned about the lack of commitment to traditional and typical standards in the plan.
What do I mean by that?
So the town has what's called typical standards, and it's things that they want to see. And she was like, well, they're not exactly following what's normal. So she was concerned about that.
But what does she mean by normal? What are they not following?
I'm not sure. I think it had to do with the street pattern, but they can't build a grid. We've already discussed that because the building that's currently there is in the way. Mm-hmm. So they have to kind of go around that. So that was a problem. Also, the connectivity from the residential to the non-residential. That wasn't typical. But again, when you have a building that's currently sitting on the property, you can't just plow through that building and put a street there.
Unfortunately.
So it's not going to be in your typical grid pattern. This is not your typical mixed-use development. I've already mentioned the 11% traffic would come from the multifamily, which I'm sorry, I'm not buying that. I just have a problem with that.
Even just the 11% increase, we already have so much traffic. That would add that it would feel so much more.
Mm-hmm. Right. They had also, so this is the other thing that I know that a lot of them are worried about, especially Ratliff, which I was glad he was worried about this. They have an existing building right now, and they do have some occupants in that building. One is JCPenney's. There's a few other companies there. But it's not full. There's still over 500,000 space for lease. And what his concern is, well, if you build the residential and then you still can't fill the current office space, why would I think that you're going to build the other offices or the hotel or the restaurants or the other things? Some were worried that they were going to come back and say, well, turns out nobody's looking for offices and we're just asking to build more residential. He was definitely concerned about that.
And yet, with all these concerns that you're listing, sorry, spoiler, they still passed it.
Oh, all right, she gave away the ending. Yes, it passed. It passed 5
I'm
to
sorry,
3.
I couldn't. You're listing all of these like concerns and this pushback, and I'm just like, and yet they still passed it. I couldn't wait any longer.
So they did pass it. Wasn't unanimous. Like I said, 5 to 3.
Still enough.
Brunoff, Bronsky, and Carey were the no votes. So there was a deal that was struck to get it over the finish line. Because there is definite concern, especially because Commissioner Brunoff, he said that amount of office building that we currently have is having a very hard time getting leased. He actually asked the developer, he said, do you think you'll be able to lease out the rest of the JCPenney building? And he said, well, yeah. And he said, how would you describe the leasing environment now for office? And the guy admitted, he said, it's hard. People just want a lot out of their office buildings now. They don't just want a regular office. They want a daycare center. They want what he considered like a home away from home.
What?
All right. So a lot of these tech companies, they have office buildings that are not your traditional offices. They've got things that people can go do on their breaks. They've got daycare centers in them. Actually, there is currently a daycare center in the existing building that's on the property. They put in a daycare center for the workers, which is nice because you go in, you take your kid with you to work, you drop him or her off at the daycare, and then you go up to your office, and then you could come down for lunch. You can check on them. If maybe they get sick, you're just an elevator ride away. So that is a benefit. But people want more, I guess, amenities.
I mean, sure, that's all nice, but I don't know if I would ever expect that out of my workplace. Maybe I'm just old school, I don't know, but I never thought of like expecting all of that out of my workplace.
Yeah. They want, like to be nearby a park, have a park setting. They want maybe a restaurant on site.
I mean, yeah, that's all nice. Mm-hmm. But again, I don't understand why we're now expecting that? Like, you have to have it?
That is apparently what people want. I mean, you'd have to get in the heads of people. That is what young people want, or I guess young professionals are looking for in their employers. And
I guess I'm just weird.
no, I mean, it's very out of the box thinking. The tech giants have done this. They've got coffee bars and they've got lounges for their workers, and some even have gaming tables. Like, I'm not talking like poker or anything like that. I'm talking like foosball, ping pong and stuff. And they're like, they don't care if they need to take like a break, but as long as the work gets done.
Right.
As long as the work gets done. But you need, like, I don't know, a mental break, maybe get the creative juices flowing.
Right.
Or you just need a minute to relax or something, get a cup of coffee, but instead of bringing it to your desk, maybe you sit into a nice little armchair. And, I don't know. I'm just
I mean, yeah,
thinking
the break room, the whole break room thing has been a thing. I guess all the other extra stuff is new for me.
Yeah, that's all brand new. You should see some of these tech offices. They don't look like offices. They just don't. They look like college campuses with
Oh no.
But that's apparently what these folks want now.
Okay.
So they're trying to accommodate that. Anyway, so people want more. Brunoff also asked, how's the financing for the office building? And the developer said, it's hard, but it can be done. So he admitted that. And he also asked about a proposal. Does the proposal include a community center? Which I'm not quite sure what he was referring to by community center. I'm like, what is he talking about? Like a rec center? And the guy said, well, we're going to have dog parks and pickleball courts and
again with the pickleball
things
courts.
of that nature. Yeah, we're going to when this fad goes away.
Like, is pickleball really that
empty courts?
Is pickleball really that popular?
Mm-hmm. It is. It's becoming very popular. It's just a new fad. It'll go away eventually.
In a couple of years.
Yeah. These things happen, And then we'll just have a lot of extra pickleball courts.
Well, I mean, some pickleball courts are literally just tennis courts that they drew extra lines to make it a pickleball court inside a tennis court. So they'll still be tennis courts, even if the pickleball fad goes away.
Yes. They do serve a double purpose. That is good.
Yeah.
So, Commissioner Carey asked a very important question. He said, how much are these apartments going to cost a month? Want to take a guess at what it was?
I don't know. It's probably obscenely expensive.
The developer said $4,000 to $15,000 a month. Her jaw just dropped to the floor. People, you should see it. Just went right to the floor, hit the desk,
Oh my gosh.
Yep. $4,000 to $15,000 a month.
Who's gonna go for that?
A very wealthy person who has a lot of money and doesn't want a house at the moment would be my guess.
And how large is that demographic, especially nowadays?
Don't ask me, I don't know. I mean, they're not going to be built tomorrow, obviously. They'll take a couple of years, but who the hell knows what's going to happen in a couple of years?
Yeah,
you just don't know. Yeah, these are not affordable.
These are like luxury apartments.
These are ultra luxury apartments.
Yeah.
I mean, $15,000 a month. Does that mean you get the whole frickin' floor? You better get the whole frickin' floor.
And weren't these apartments supposed to be for the or is that the different one I'm thinking of, where they're meant for the workers?
Well, the idea is that they'll be for the professionals who work at the office building that's currently there, or the office building that's going to be built.
How much are they paying those workers?
I have no idea. Well, you got to figure the executives, he's got to be making six figures. You mean a top executive? He could be making a lot of money.
Sure.
He could probably afford that.
But he probably has a house.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
A very nice house.
I mean, $15,000, you're talking New York prices here now. You're talking prime real estate. And I'm just like, this is Plano, Texas. We don't, there's no like, you're not talking Central Park here.
We're not Highland Park.
Not even downtown Dallas, where you're in the hub of the city. This is Plano. What the heck do you get for $15,000? I mean, that's obscene. You could get a used car for $15,000, and that's a month. What is that a year? Oh my gosh, I should have figured that one out.
And then the rent goes up the next year. Like, gosh,
every year. I wonder how crappy the $4,000 one is. Maybe the 15 is like the penthouse, and you get the whole floor.
Yeah.
This is not affordable for most people. I don't understand. But so this'll get you. So you asked, like, who the heck is going to be able to pay for this, right? Who's going to want this? So Commissioner Ollie, he said that the reason he was voting for this is that this would free up some of our housing supply. So get a load of this, okay? This is his idea. So this is built, okay? Mm-hmm. And since they have their clientelers empty, some of them are empty nesters, he said, well, the person who is got a $600,000 house, now a big house, he can sell that house, or they can sell that house and to a nice family, and then move into these apartments.
Yeah. Again, my question, why haven't they already into much cheaper comparatively apartments that we already have? The math isn't mathing.
Nope. It's not, because Commissioner Ollie doesn't seem to understand that the reason why people are staying in place is because they can't afford to move to someplace else. Yeah, you have a house. You want to sell that house. But a lot of times you cannot sell that house and move into one of those for $4,000 a month. That's more than your mortgage. I can tell you right now, that $4,000 a month is probably going to be more than the mortgage on the house and the utilities on the house. I apparently I'm in, let's say I'm in his demographic. I got a few people who are in their demographic. I can tell you right now, it's, especially if they have a mortgage years ago when interest rates were very, very low, that's ridiculous. You would have to figure out that your monthly bills to live in your house is going to be less than that $4,000 a month. And it never works out that way.
Well, okay, so you've sort of made a bit of a leap from one point to another, because you were saying that the reason people aren't already moving out is because they can't afford it. And then you went to like how they can't afford the 4,000. But what's the reason why they're not moving out right now into apartments that are relatively cheaper, that are like, $1,500 a month?
Can't afford it.
So if they can't, so your theory is they can't afford it. So if they can't even afford okay, now I get where you were going. See, you made a bit of a leap. You didn't really exactly walk through it.
I'm sorry, I jumped.
Yeah, you went from one platform to the next. You didn't really bridge over.
Go ahead and do the bridge for me.
Yeah. If you can't, if that's true, and it's because they can't afford it, if they can't afford a $1,500 apartment, what makes them think that they can afford a $4,000 apartment?
Yeah, I didn't realize I had to make that connection, but duh. It's like, hello, Commissioner Ali. It's like,
again, I don't have faith in people. Sometimes you gotta kind of connect the dots.
yeah. I mean, yeah, they're empty nesters. Why are they empty nesters? The kids went off to college. So now they have the humongous college bill that they have to pay. Okay? I know many people who would love to downsize. And they said, it costs me more money. It would cost me more money to downsize from my existing place than where I'm living now. Nobody is going to do that. It's not economical. The whole point of downsizing is literally to downsize your bills, not just your square footage. So this is not going to free up the housing market unless you're talking about the houses that are going for $1 million plus, because those people could afford that. And maybe they want that luxurious apartment living.
But what if it's not even the fact that people can't afford it? What if there's another reason that they're not even considering? Maybe people don't want to move into maybe the empty nesters don't want to necessarily move into an apartment in which their rent is going to go up every year. Maybe they want to move into maybe just a smaller house.
A lot of them do, depending on their age.
They don't want the middleman if something breaks down. They want to be able to do whatever they want to their home, Mm-hmm. They don't want all the extra minutia that comes with having an apartment. They want their own space.
Yeah, they're not ready. They don't want to live in an apartment building. They still want to live in a house. They just want to live in a smaller house. I mean, that's what Councilwoman 2 did. She wanted to move into a smaller house. She didn't need the large house. She wanted a smaller house.
When she could very easily move into an apartment, one of the many that she's passed.
Yeah. She's passed plenty of them, but she didn't move into one of them, did she?
But she wants a smaller house. Maybe many other people are thinking the same thing. Maybe it's not even a price thing. Maybe it's they don't want an apartment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We do not have housing for people for all stages of life. We have housing for two kinds of stages of life: the apartment stage and then the family stage. Not much in between.
Or after.
And that is something that Councilman Williams really wants to work on. And this is just another apartment building
For young people.
Or very wealthy empty nesters.
Very wealthy young people. Mm-hmm. What young person can afford that? Again, what are they paying these people? What are they paying these workers?
Not my children. My children can't afford that rent. So nope. They won't be living there.
Never.
I'm actually concerned that my kids will not be able to afford to live in Plano. Let alone, near me. I don't think they'll be able to live anywhere in Plano.
Where do you think they'd be able to afford?
I don't know.
Because it's kind of happening everywhere.
Someplace really, I don't know, not as dense, not as up and coming. I don't know.
Out in the rural part? Because again, it's happening everywhere where everyone wants to develop.
Yeah, but we are the closest city to Dallas. So the further out you go, the cheaper from the city of Dallas, the cheaper it will get.
And the more rural.
And the more rural, yes. I don't know. There are, you've got Prosper, you've got Wiley, you've got, what else is around here? Well, actually, Denton County is still pretty reasonable in parts of them, but that ain't a quick trip. That's not around the corner. So yeah. I don't see a lot of young people staying in Plano, sadly. Now, how this came to be, how this actually was agreed upon to get passed. So the motion was to move for approval with the following mandate: that the residential will be located on lots 7R and 10R. This is specific lots on the property. Okay. They're okay, you can only do the residential on these two lots. And the second residential building can't start being built until one of the two things: a certificate of occupancy for the hotel that they want to build.
They also want to build a hotel?
They want to build a hotel, yes. So you've got your certificate occupancy for the hotel, and one non-residential building the shell has to start being built. Then you can start building the second residential building. And this was to make sure that the other parts of this development...
They actually do what they promise.
Yes, get built. So they can start doing the first residential building, ASAP, tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow, because it still has to go to city council. But as soon as it passes, they can start, moving dirt. So that was the kind of the compromise. So something that was very interesting. So you had these people who spoke, all of which said, this development plan doesn't follow the comp plan. The comprehensive plan was, it was a very trying time. You had two people who were on the commission who said this was meant for to be an employment center. That is what the committee agreed upon, all right, after months of negotiation, all right? So this was not an easy thing. So Commissioner Brunoff said something basically saying, we may need to revisit the comprehensive plan because after COVID, the comprehensive plan no longer fits with the current market forces.
What does COVID have to do with it? Why did he add after COVID? What did it have anything to do with it?
So interestingly enough, the new comprehensive plan committee was meeting during COVID, during the height of COVID. Okay. And everyone at the time just, all the businesses were closed. People were working remotely. And of course, everyone at the time thought, well, we'll eventually go back to the office building. Well, that hasn't happened. Even though businesses want their employees to return to the office environment, all right, there needs to be some kind of collaboration, all right, sometimes. The office building is great at networking, building relationships, getting ideas from one another. If you're working by yourself, you're not collaborating with your fellow workers.
What does making an apartment complex next to the workplace, how does that fix that?
It doesn't.
So then I'm not understanding where the dots are connecting. I'm not understanding.
So what Commissioner Brunoff is saying is that our comprehensive plan does not go now with what's going on in the market for office.
Right.
Because right now, office space is getting more difficult to lease.
But this came up because they were saying that this plan doesn't follow the comprehensive plan, correct? And they keep having these things that don't follow the comprehensive plan.
Yes.
And so they want to change it. Why?
I don't know what he wants to change it to, but he said that we need to think, let me get his exact quote, because I wrote it down. Here we go. He attended a conference on future office development, and 3 points were made. Campus-style corporate headquarters have become vacant. It is not sustainable because of the high cost of the land, and market for office has been down since the pandemic. He said there is no financing. We know we have to wait on office. We could get the hotel. Hotels, apparently that market is still very strong. And the comprehensive plan does not allow for multifamily in this place. He said that, and I think that's why he voted against it. And he said, if we approve this now, we will be opening the door to others like it. I think we should revisit this part of the comprehensive plan to update it.
So again, but how would, so he said that the comprehensive plan doesn't allow for multi-use multifamily development
in
this area.
Mm-hmm.
How would having it in this area solve the problem that he's citing about the whole vacant workplace?
That he did not elaborate on. I don't think it would. I think that, if you have a person who wants to work from home and doesn't want to go to an office at all, he doesn't have to work next to an office building. Okay? If you have an empty nester, well, that person might still be working. But that person could also be retired. And they're not going to really care if they live near an office building. I don't know if they'll care if they live near an office building or not. They don't have to live near an office building. I mean, the reason why the developer feels he needs this multifamily is because he feels that he has to fill this office building. And the only way to do it is to get people who will want to work right next to their office building.
What I'm thinking, and maybe it's because I'm very cynical right now, but what I'm thinking is that they're just coming up with excuses to justify the fact that they want to change the comprehensive plan because it doesn't, words. Because they want all these mixed-use developments wherever they want them. I'm sorry, multifamily and mixed-use, but... So they're just coming up with an excuse game.
It could be. I mean, he said that...
Again, maybe I'm just cynical, but that's what it just sounds like to me.
Yeah. I mean, he also... Commissioner Bruno also said that a survey says that people want walkability. Again, I would love to know when these people are walking.
Maybe within these few weeks that we have nice weather, because, we're in that stretch right now where we have few good weeks of nice weather, but then once Halloween passes, we have maybe one more week before it gets cold.
Yeah, so you could walk to your office very nicely for, a month?
Yeah.
Other than that, it's too hot.
Or it's too cold.
It's too cold. I mean, are they going to, get little, golf carts and just golf cart their way over? With maybe, sides on it? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how many people actually want to walk in Texas weather.
And they said that the connectivity is not very good. You can't see. They have to literally walk around the property. It's not a straight line.
Unless you're going for a morning, people who go for a morning walk or jog, they'll.
Yeah, you could walk early morning.
Do that, but not many people do that.
No, not many people do. I don't know. Walking is a great exercise.
Oh, yeah.
But
not many people do it.
Not many people do it here. If you do it here, you'll see people out early in the morning. And the hottest time of the day is that 4:00 hour. So can you imagine all these people in 3-piece suits walking home in 90-degree, 100-degree heat?
Do people do people still wear 3-piece suits to work?
They wear suits. I don't know if it's 3-piece, but they still wear pants and a jacket. Gotta look professional. It's an office building.
I'm just wondering how much the standards have changed. I don't know. I'm not a tech person.
I don't even know if these are tech. I mean, you've got JCPenney offices there. It's not like they're in jeans and t-shirts. Come on.
Well, I don't mean like that.
It's casual Friday.
I mean, I don't mean like that, but like, I don't know if anyone's wearing like, those nice suits of like the 50s anymore.
Nobody's wearing those, but businessmen, Wall Street guys, okay? Bankers, they're still in suits and ties.
Okay.
Now, granted, I don't know what other stuff is in this building, and I don't know what's going to be in the 4 buildings that they claim they're going to build, but I don't know with what or how, because, office is apparently not happening anymore. I think, yes. Is office having a problem right now? Yes. Okay. Is it going to be forever? No. Nothing is forever. Nothing is constant.
Things go through waves.
Yes. And believe me, people aren't going to get tired. We are social beings. We need human contact. A lot of people are not going to want to stay home forever.
The pendulum will swing.
It always does. It always does swing. And the problem is that a comprehensive plan needs to be able to see into the future, and it's supposed to see in the future 50 years. It wasn't even able to see in the future for 2 years, because now they're talking about revisiting it and redoing it.
Well, because again, my cynical theory that it doesn't align with what they want to do.
Well, it didn't align with what they wanted to do 2 years ago. So if they wanted something different, why did they pass this version?
I don't know.
I mean, council and planning and zoning had to pass what came out of committee. They could have said, no, this is not what we want, and sent it back to committee. They didn't do that.
Maybe because people pushed for it so hard?
Yeah, they did. Residents want a certain area.
But now they feel like they can get away with changing it.
Maybe because the market forces are right now temporarily, this is what's happening. But I don't know. I mean, they just gave Raising Cane's $6 million to move into a new office building and redo it. So clearly Raising Cane's is still needing office, or else they wouldn't be wanting to move. I think what we need is diversification in many things. There's an old saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not diversified here, and that's the problem. We're very heavily into certain 1 or 2 types of things, and when that type of thing happens to be down at the time in the market, it's going to affect the city.
Yeah.
But if you have a wide range of things, if you have manufacturing, if you have office, if you have industrial, if you have a wide range of types of living, all right, of housing, then when one isn't doing so well, the other will. That's just how things happen. Things are constantly moving and shifting, and trends are changing, and then they change back. And if we have one type of thing, then when that thing goes down,
We don't have the other to accommodate.
Exactly. That's why they always say to have a diversified portfolio when you're investing. You never invest heavily in one type of stock. The same is true for this, because the market will keep changing. So the last thing I want to bring up that I was kind of like, it made me go, So Commissioner Chong was very torn. She even said, I'm torn. I don't know exactly what to do here. So when it came time to take the vote, okay, she asked Downs asked all in favor, and 4 commissioners raised their hands. And Ollie did a voice vote because he was on Zoom. I should say 3 commissioners raised their hand. Ollie did a voice vote. Tong did not raise her hand. And Downs looked at Tong and said, are you still thinking? And Commissioner Tong, she slowly raised her hand and very low, not high.
Like a tentative.
Yeah. And I'm like, why did he do that? And then, of course, all those who are opposed, there were only 3 left. I'm like, why did he do that?
Well,
why did he, was that like a pressure thing?
Why
did she really want to vote for it? Or did she really want to vote against it? And when he asked her and he's looking at her, what was that?
I feel like she was still on the fence. What I don't get is why she felt like she had to vote for it. Why she felt like she had to raise her hand. If she was on the fence, then she could have abstained.
Yes, she could have abstained. And would it have passed? Yes, it still would have. Yes.
It would have been more of a narrow
it would have
win,
passed.
but
it would have passed because when you abstain, it's basically you're passing basically. So, but if she had voted no, it would have failed because then it would have been a 4-4, and ties automatically fail because there's no tiebreaker. So I don't know.
It's weird.
I didn't like that. I thought he should have just went all those in favor, and when she didn't raise her hand, he should have just said nothing.
Yeah, why did he assume that, that's also kind of weird that he assumed she would have been in favor and is like, are you still thinking about it? It was weird, as if it was weird that she didn't raise her hand at that moment.
Yeah. I mean, if she didn't vote, then you should have gone on to all those opposed. And if she didn't raise her hand then you could have said, are you abstaining?
It raises questions and brings way for conspiracy theory land of is it true that you guys actually do come in with pre-planned votes? You go into your little groups and we're totally gonna vote for this. We're gonna vote.
Well,
and the fact that she didn't raise her hand at the moment, he's like, this isn't what we discussed.
They're not supposed to do that. At least
that's why I said
5 of them aren't supposed to do that because that would be a quorum.
That's why I said conspiracy theory land, but it does raise questions.
No, I don't know. I mean, she said she was torn. She said there was parts she liked and there was parts she didn't like. Well, if you don't like the whole thing, then don't vote for it. All right. Well, the good news is that this will be coming before City Council for a vote on November 11th, 2024. So go and tell your City Council if you don't like this to vote no. And you can go to the website for the zoning case. Remember, the zoning case is 2024-003, and you can oppose it on the zoning case response map.
The more people that say no, the stronger it is.
Yes. And reach out to your city council person. Reach out to multiple city council persons. I would especially say reach out to Rick Smith. He's often on the fence about these things.
So you might sway him.
You could sway him. Now you're going to need to find I don't know if I want to predict this. I'd say reach out to Shelby Williams, Anthony Riccadelli, Rick Smith, and you're going to have maybe a fourth one. Because the way this is going, I can tell you right now, and I hate doing this. I hate to be that we know we can predict this, but
well, they have records at this point. We know their voting patterns.
Yes. So Mayor Mons is going to be a yes vote. This is my prediction. Okay, I'm making a prediction.
Doesn't mean it's going to be true, but
Mayor Mons is going to vote yes. Maria 2 is going to vote yes. And Rick Horn is going to vote yes. Now, I have 2 questions I don't know about Casey Prince and Julie Homer. Those 2 I'm not sure about. The last time this property came to zoning, Casey Prince said, this is supposed to be an employment park. They're not supposed to be residential here. And she turned it down. I can't remember what Julie Homer did. I don't even know if she was on council yet. I don't remember. So those 2 are my wild cards. Okay.
So you could also try and grab one of them.
Yeah.
Or both.
Or both. Yes, if you really don't want this coming to a theater near you.
Probably better both because, wider odd.
Yes. You are definitely more likely with them. I wouldn't even bother with the mayor. I haven't seen...
I don't even know if he sees people's messages.
I know you get an automatic response like, thanks for reaching out. I get a lot of emails.
Blah, blah, blah.
He never actually answers an actual email back. It's usually just the automatic reply of, thanks for reaching out to my office. All right, we went a little long today, but
very long.
We're only a weekly podcast, okay?
And a lot happened this week.
All right. So this is a wrap for us. I am Esther.
And I'm Ruth.
For Plano's Political Pitbull, signing off.